So the addition of Cal, Stanford, and SMU certainly could shake the table, but will it really matter when we're so embedded in all of this chaos around here in the ACC? We talk about future changes, future games, and more importantly, we read your comments, as we always do every Wednesday.
You are Locked On ACC, your daily podcast on the Atlantic Coast Conference, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
What's going on, everybody? Welcome to today's edition of Locked On ACC. I'm your host, Candace Cooper, joined by Kenton Gibbs of Locked On Wolfpack. Each and every day, you can find us wherever you listen to podcasts. Make sure you download, subscribe to the pod from anywhere you listen. We're trying to fight the cold front that is coming our way. It seems to be chilly, and I'm trying to fight the urge to turn on my heat, but it might just be time. So I guess if you are watching on YouTube and see my appearance and want to make a comment, save it, because I already understand, but I'm trying to just wrap up and save my bill. So there's that. Today's episode is brought to you by our friends at FanDuel. We know that FanDuel is where you get all of those big wins. Make every moment more. Right now, new customers get $150 in bonus bets with any winning $5 moneyline bet. That's $150 if your team wins. Visit FanDuel.com/LockedOnCollege to get started today. Kenton, how's it going? Are we rocked and rolled and ready to go?
Everything is everything. I have no complaints. I'm excited. I'm excited because this is a day where we get to do another fan read and we get to talk about all those things. And so with that being said, I'm more than ready to discuss what some of our fans had to say about our power rankings and where we are and all that good stuff. I'm excited about it. You know what I mean? And I know we still got the power ranking graphic up in the background, but we about to work on that. We about to get that handy in just a second. Let me tell you something. When we read these here comments, this is the most interesting batch of comments that we have had to this day, because it's actually, and by interesting, I mean interesting from a standpoint of thought-provoking, because a lot of people brought in points and perspectives that I had not considered that. I mean, you may have, but to me, I looked at them and I said, you know a little bit of ball.
I only read the ones where everyone was loving on us. That wasn't the case all the way down?
No. People had feelings for us other than love.
Oh, really?
And that's okay. That's all right with me.
I think it's one of those situations where if you just go ahead and let people know what happened to you on Twitter today, because I heard it got spicy with ACC fan. Miami fan.
Yeah. You know, I was going back and forth about Miami's rating.
Which is shocking because you don't go back and forth.
You know, I here's the thing.
You had time today?
Not really. This is my fourth podcast of the day, so I really did not have time today.
You made time.
But yeah, I made time because I'm like, I want our viewers to be known for knowing ball. Right? Like whether or not you disagree with me, whether or not you disagree with Candace, I want you to walk away from this show and be able to say that this duo here, right? The Beauty and the Beast made you smart. We helped you out. You got along a little better. You understand a little bit more of what's going on in the sports landscape because of us.
Which one is which? No, I'm just kidding. Go ahead.
And yet the reality is there are some people who feel like, oh, Miami's in an entirely different echelon than Boston College based on what we've seen so far, which is objectively not true. It's objectively not true. Like you could make the argument of, oh, their Texas A&M win was great. How's Texas A&M look so far this season?
Well, Jimbo might be looking for a new job. So
you could make a lot of arguments for, oh, Virginia ain't beat nobody. Almost every win that Miami has in conference, Virginia also has. I'm sorry, Boston College also has. And also Boston College has a win over a common opponent that Miami lost to. The other common opponent that they both played was, I believe it was the one that they both beat, Virginia, and Boston College handled them handily as it took Miami overtime. There are many aspects as to why it's a thing. I'm okay with you disagreeing with me. If you say, hey, I think that Miami needs to be above Boston College, I'm okay with that. But the idea that it is so ridiculous, so unspeakable, so unfathomable, that shows me that we're missing something here, because there are many.
It
many
shows me that we're a little bit too into our fandom and not talking college ball. Okay.
Possibly.
But we got all 3 segments. We ain't finna waste on that Miami fan. I love them, but we gonna keep it rolling. Okay.
Absolutely. We don't do brands here. We don't do brands. We don't do, the big brand gets the love and all that. No, we do based on who the better team is, based on who's showing up. That's who's gonna get the love.
We're here to talk about the ACC. Okay, I'm enough with the hands. I'm having a lot of hands today.
Yeah.
The ACC.
The spirit fingers going on there for you.
Well, happy Halloween for those who are tuning into the Tuesday live show. We're going to watch this back on Wednesday. You know, I clearly have on my orange and black, so I'm in the spirit. But things are getting scary for the ACC because they're adding teams that are all the way across the way on the West Coast and a little bit down south in Texas. You got SMU, Cal, and Stanford going to be joining the conversation next year for ACC chaos. I mean, hey, welcome to the party where we just eat each other up and then hope for the best towards the end. Or we maybe have one star team that just does exceptionally better than everybody else, and then it's just bottom feeders. I don't know. I've seen this story before. But for 2024 through 2030, there will again be no divisions, which start there. I'm cool with no divisions. How about you?
Yeah, I agree. No divisions have been extremely exciting. Like, let's be very clear about what's happened here. This is a situation where the coastal folks are talking they talk, and they deserve. They all deserve. Y'all deserve. Listen, I said coming into this season, do not let this one season dissuade y'all from what we saw as an objective truth in the past. However, I'm also very aware that fan is short for fanatic, and we were going to do that anyway. I'm very aware.
Just give us our props, bro, and let it be. Like, just give us our props and let it be.
I at any point in time this year said, oh, the Coastal is still inferior to the Atlantic? No. I'm saying the Coastal this year has been whooping butt and taking names. They've been doing their thing. They have been doing their thing. The Atlantic have had some teams that have underwhelmed by a mile. And with that in mind, I say, hey, more power to the coastal teams, or the former coastal teams. But I'm excited to see a divisionless situation because, again, like I've always said, I don't want anybody to have excuses. Oh, we just didn't go because, Florida State was in the way, or Clemson was in the way, or, oh, we just couldn't get it done because UNC was there, Virginia Tech was there. Oh, we wanted to do it, but we couldn't. I hate that excuse, number one. Number two, I want to see the 2 best teams play. The 2 best teams play, that's primetime TV. And I want to see it.
Great. Now, would Cal be in the coastal or the Atlantic? Would SMU be in the coastal or the Atlantic? Would Stanford be in the coastal or the Atlantic?
So I'll say Cal and Stanford to the coastal, SMU to the Atlantic.
See, I think that Cal definitely would give coastal vibes. Like, they come in, they suck, but they tear-ish up a little bit every now and then. Mm-hmm. I say Stanford would probably be one of those hard-nosed, good Atlantic Division teams that they're kind of like NC State, right? They may not get there to the mountaintop, but they definitely try their best. They're going to be a solid team.
Stanford I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Mm-hmm. And then SMU, I think, would be great in the Atlantic as well because they remind me more of like a Louisville, again, a solid program, come to shake some things up, but maybe not get to the top.
So Stanford is a bunch of nerds, and we have, I want to say each division. We have
several nerd bowls.
I was just about to say each division has one nerd each, right? Like you got the Atlantic with Wake Forest, and you got the Coastal with Duke.
Sure.
So I think that's nerd for nerd right there. So we kind of just threw off our nerd balance a little bit, or our nerd quota. We kind of
Cal has some nerds, so maybe they would have to be in the Atlantic.
Yeah, I guess.
Okay.
I guess we could do
all right.
that. Yeah.
All right. That's fine.
But either way you look at it, I'm just glad that there are no divisions. I'm ready to see these teams come in. And honestly, here's the thing, right? My mother always told me when I grew up, son, there are a lot of things in life that you're not going to like, but you're going to have to do them. And if there's something that you don't like, but you got to do it, you might as well pretend to like it because it's going to happen either way. Get yourself enthused about it and get through it the best way you know how. We may not be excited about Cal, Stanford, and SMU joining, but damn it, get excited. pretend that you're excited, because why? They're going to be here. It's too late. The papers are signed. The documents are signed. The faxes have cleared. The checks have cleared. Folks have made their agreement to not take money and all that. It's too late to renege or back out of this thing now. So
crazy things have happened, and it's an avocado, but it's fine. We'll make a shake and do all the things. Let's talk about our friends here at FanDuel. Again, today's episode is brought to you by America's number one sportsbook. Right now, new customers can get $150 in bonus bets with any winning $5 moneyline bet. That's $150 if your team wins. If you've been thinking about joining FanDuel, there's no better time to get in on the action, whether it's spreads, player props, over, unders, or more. Get FanDuel.com/LockedOnCollege and kick off the NFL season. FanDuel is the official partner of the NFL. Kenton Gibbs and I talking through 2024-2030 for the ACC, and all 17 league teams will play each other at least twice in 7 years, 68 conference games each season with 16 annually protected matchups, and the top two teams by conference win percentage will play on the first Saturday in December. Good enough. Sounds nice. As long as you keep some of the solid ones and you have some core rivalries still there, I'm fine with this new edition. What are your thoughts?
I know how much some of these rivalries going away have hurt some people's feelings. But since we're talking about new edition, let's quote them. You need to cool it now, because a lot of us, these groups that have been created out of this, they're sufficient. They're sufficient. North Carolina, for some reason, even in college, loves their state championships. They love their state championships.
It's great for recruiting.
And so having Wake Forest, NC State, Duke, and North Carolina all end up in the same pod, you have that type of deal there. Same thing with Florida State and Miami, of course, ending up in the same pod and all that. These are the types of things that you look at and you're like, yes, we're going to lose some of those matchups that, they were great over the years and all that. And many NC State fans are complaining, saying, well, now that we finally figured out how to win the Textile Bowl, you take it away from us. Well, you're going to get another chance, I promise.
What's the Textile Bowl?
NC State and Clemson. That's the Textile Bowl.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So that is a situation where I'm saying to myself, be okay with those rivalries leaving, because the pods they give you the opportunity for something better. And as I've already said, if you have complaints that are that high and mighty, wait till the ball is put down first.
Are you Tyler from Spartanburg?
I'm sorry, what? No, I am not Tyler from Spartanburg.
Did you miss that joke?
Dabo, don't cuss me out, okay? Don't cuss me out. I ain't got nothing to do with this.
Honestly, I should have been Tyler from Spartanburg.
Now, listen, if you want to throw me some of that 11 mil, Dabo, I ain't going to be mad at you. You know what I mean? I'll push a little Clemson propaganda now. I'll push some P for you, but that's neither here nor there. The reality is very simple. Let's just give this thing a try, right? Let's give the conference realignment in terms of these pools of who plays who every year and all that. Let's give it a try before we write it off as stupid and terrible and, I don't get to see this matchup anymore. Doesn't matter. Let's just put the ball down and play some ball, and let's be excited that we're still playing ball, because I don't know if y'all know this. Candace, I don't know if you know this. Mm-hmm. There's a reason that Cal and Stanford are coming over here. Word on the street is they don't have a conference anymore over there in the Pac-12. That's just the word on the street.
That is the word on the street. And my biggest thing, I think, it always boils down to the athletes for me. The whole idea of having to travel over to across the water, and it's not a championship game, it's not a bowl game, it's all the things. By across the water, I should really say states, because it's probably just lakes that you have to go across.
You're pretty. You're very pretty.
All right. So I think that the biggest issue is the fact that I do like some of the rivalries that are classic, but I'm honestly on the fence about whether or not let's throw some things out there, right? In 2026, we're going to see some Louisville and SMU. Why not? Crazier things have happened. And we all have seen, with certain rivalries, sometimes you spark some new interest, especially the way transfer portal rolls. Some people have the biggest games because they got, hijacked from a certain team, and they come over and they end up wanting to put 50 on their head and things like that. So, why not? Let's just see what we can get out of this.
Yeah, for sure. The Cal and NC State game will forever be known as the Ben Finley Bowl. So I'm excited to see how that goes down. But no, in all seriousness, again, give this thing a shot. But I also want to talk about this for a second, right?
Yeah.
Everybody's talking about the terrible addition of these teams and all that and how it throws everybody's rivalries out of whack and whatnot. But I want to know this, and I mean this from a very genuine standpoint. Which one of y'all rivalries meant that much that are now being taken out? Because the way I saw it, all of the rivalries that really meant something to each team, Virginia and Virginia Tech are still going to play the Commonwealth game every year, correct?
Yep.
NC State, UNC still playing every year, correct?
Yep.
Miami, FSU is still playing every year, correct?
Correct.
Okay. What's the problem?
But I do see Georgia Tech, North Carolina games taken away, and I'm not upset about that. But go ahead.
But that's not your rival. You know what I mean? Like
Carolina and Duke are very much still playing. Carolina, NC State definitely still playing.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like all of the rivals are still. It's not like a you just wait till I see you in 2028. It's gonna be all of the teams that actually genuinely hate each other. You're gonna get a chance to express that hate one Saturday of each year.
So some people are more so like, I want to hate you towards the end when my team is like formalizing who they are, right? I don't want to have to hate you like second game out the season. And it's not the same vibe. And, somebody, of course, it hasn't really found their stride yet, and they're still figuring out their identity. So I think, for some of these matchups that are happening, just, willy-nilly, like, one Saturday, and it's not like the rivalry weekend and things like that. And it's like not hate state week or like, beat VT day or, all of that. I think that's what's the biggest issue.
Well, it sounds to me like you don't got enough hate in your heart because Pitt and West Virginia play the backyard brawl early in the season every year, right or wrong.
Right.
And every year when Sweet Carolina goes off, West Virginia fans make up their own words to tell Pitt fans to eat something that is not supposed to be eaten.
Yeah.
Every time. And it's early in the season. They hate each other. That's what it looks like. Michigan State, they hate each other. They don't play last year the season no more. That's Michigan, Ohio State every year. And what happens? They show up with the same energy, the same hate. Michigan State, y'all took the hate a little too far because Bob was Hitler up on that scoreboard for as long as he was, but we ain't going to talk about that right now. The reality is very simple. If your rivalry means that much, it shouldn't matter if y'all play in week 1, week 2, week 12. It does not matter. If the rivalry means that much and y'all are in the pod together, even if y'all not on rivalry week, duke it out. Handle it. In the words of Tiger, make it nasty. Hate each other as much as you want at that moment and show it whenever you get the chance. Because me personally, when I played, we didn't play North Carolina at the end of the season. We played them oftentimes in the middle of the season. And I still was, it's time to roll. It's time to go.
That's fair. I'll give you that. I understand the gripes, but now we got to get into the comments. And before we get into the comments, I want to talk a little bit about our friends at eBay Motors. All right. Passion, drive, and patience. What brings home the winning trophy is always what keeps your ride or die alive. With over 122 million parts for your number one ride or die, eBay Motors always will help you find what you're looking for. And with eBay Guaranteed Fit, your part is guaranteed to fit your ride every time or your money back. Because with eBay Motors, you're burning rubber, not cash. With all the parts you need at the prices you want, it's super easy to turn your car into the MVP and bring home that win. Keep your ride or die alive at ebaymotors.com. Eligible items only. Exclusions apply. eBay Guaranteed Fit only available to U.S. customers. So, Kenton, before we get into our friends here, we'd be remiss if we did not talk about the college football playoffs that are, taking place, right? We'd be remiss if we didn't talk about the fact that we only have 2 teams right now to do in that bad boy, and that would be Louisville at number 13 and our good friends, Florida State, at number 4. Now, Florida State, you got Washington, Oregon, Texas, and Alabama knocking on that door. How Oklahoma is number 9 is very crazy to me, but I'm going to let them have that. However, semicolon, comma, Florida State currently is putting the team on their back.
So, I had a fan actually say that to the Locked On ACC page, and I want to read my response off to you because I like to try to be as eloquent as I can in these responses. And so I was told by Professor XXX88 that we're keeping you guys employed. Locked On ACC, we're keeping you guys employed by carrying your week conference. And to that, I responded like so. Mm-hmm. Your week conference, Very interesting. You're still here. It's our weak conference, buddy. It is as if you are in a relationship with somebody. Y'all live in a house together. You pay for part of the house. They pay for part of the house, all that good stuff. And you say, hey, your house is ugly. You're still in the house. If you think it's ugly, you're a part of that. Number two, this is FSU's first time going to the playoff since its inaugural happening. And do you remember what happened in that inaugural happening, Ms. Cooper?
No, did they get dog walked?
Oh, they got beat by 39 by Marcus Mariota-led Oregon Ducks. So I think that's very interesting. And not to mention the ACC has multiple national titles since then. So
come on.
I mean,
all I want to say is we're rooting for you. As much as there's hate and talking about keeping us employed, one, you ain't keeping us employed. I can promise you that. But two, you're not keeping Carolina, Duke, Wake Forest, Georgia Tech, and the like employed either. Like, I understand what the sentiment, but like, we got to relax with those sort of notions because they're just simply inaccurate.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. And again, I'm going to just say this. And I want to say this, and I'm going to touch y'all's shoulder when I say this, as I often do on these days. Stop living off of national championships that happened before iPhones were invented. Stop. It's weird. It's gross. Nobody cares. Okay? Michael Irvin ain't walking through that door. I'm sorry. He's not. I'm sorry. I'm talking about FSU. Warwick Dunn ain't walking through that door. I'm sorry to tell you, Deion Sanders ain't walking through that door. Bobby Bowden ain't walking through that door. Jameis Winston ain't walking through that door.
Kenton enough, because I don't want to hear them in my mentions. Please. I
mean, that's fair. I don't care. They'll be in the mentions, and I'll be right there mentioning them back. And it's all right. We'll be mentioning each other. We'll be some mentioning old fools.
I do think that if Louisville keeps climbing and keeps winning, there's argument for them to at least finish in towards the New Year's Six Bowl conversation.
I mean, the reality is this. I think that it's the reality that the ACC's national perception is very different from what's happened in reality, because people are discussing the possibility of 2 SEC teams getting into the playoff. And I'm like, who is the second SEC team that has shown us anything worth enough to say that they have 2 teams that should get in? And also, if we're talking about what the conferences did or did not do, again, look at the non-conference Power 5 record, atrocious over there. So, and this ain't just about them. This is about the reality of, I think that it's not fair to say, oh, well, there isn't a dominant team. There aren't enough dominant teams in the ACC, and that's why we're ranking them like this. These are teams that have figured it out, that have gotten better, that are now competitive, that I feel comfortable. I'm going to say this, and some people going to look at me like I'm crazy. I feel comfortable dropping Boston College off in any other Power 5 conference, and I don't believe that they'd be a bottom feeder in any Power 5 conference. With the way that they're playing right now. With the way that they're playing right now, I don't think they'd be a bottom feeder in any other Power 5.
Now you might have lost me on
the
that
bottom feeder, the bottom team in any other conference. I don't think that they'd be one of the best teams. I think they'd be at worst toward the bottom of the middle of the pack.
No, you might be losing me, kid. I was on the train.
Okay.
I was on the train.
So let's not look at Boston College. So let's not look at Boston College.
Now, had you said Virginia Tech,
we could I was just about to say we could talk about Virginia Tech.
But you know good and hell well, Castellanos is one roll ankle away from that being a terrible team now. We could talk about Virginia Tech. I've said that 3 through 8 range, they're all in there. We could talk about NC State. We could talk about Miami. We could talk about multiple teams that have multiple conference losses that everybody says, oh, they're terrible because they have multiple conference losses. But in reality, this is a middle of the road, maybe even good team losing to another middle of the road to good team. And it's not fair to me, it is not fair how this thing gets described. It's like that meme of like the guy that's attractive saying, oh my God, you look wonderful today. And it's a compliment. And then the heavy set guy comes in and says the same thing. And it's like, ew, sexual harassment. It's the exact same thing with these conferences. Oh, the SEC has a bunch of teams that are middling and nobody's dominating except Georgia. Oh, it's a great conference.
they're cannibalizing each other. The Big Ten, oh, it's a great conference. They're cannibalizing each other. The Pac-12, I'll give it to the Pac-12. This is the best they've been in some time. They actually are a very good conference right now. At the top, very top heavy, but at the top, they're good. The Big 12, oh, they're cannibalizing each other. Look at Kansas. Kansas beat Oklahoma with a backup quarterback.
The backup quarterback is always tough because you ain't got no film on them.
But I'm just saying, I think it's unfair to the ACC how when our teams lose to each other, it is not they're cannibalizing each other. It's see, UNC lost. This is a bad conference.
Now that was a bad loss. I ain't gonna hold you. It could have been anybody else.
But it doesn't. It
could have been anybody else.
But it doesn't matter. How does that make us a bad conference? What does that mean in terms of your conference is bad because you lost to somebody else in the conference? That doesn't make sense. That the math doesn't check out.
Virginia was at the time terrible.
Mm-hmm.
One of the worst in FBS, FCS, LMNOP ever.
Yeah. Listen, and
you're a top 10 team.
And I'll give you that. But again, that is a team that's in the conference. So what does that mean? Does that mean that Carolina is worse than we thought, or that UVA is better than we thought?
Hell yeah.
Okay, and so if we say North Carolina is worse than we thought, then we also have to give a certain amount of nod, a certain modicum of the credit for that win to UVA, to Georgia Tech.
No, because you done said Tony Muskie is musty this entire time, so I'm confused.
I have often argued that it is not right to say, hey, teams beating each other in a conference is bad. That makes the conference bad. Because again, that's a stupid metric.
It doesn't make it bad, but if you have the top conference team in the conference losing to the bottom feeder, that's a little shaky. Can you admit that?
You could call it as shaky as you want, but what conference doesn't have that? What conference doesn't see their top teams take – the Big Ten this year hasn't seen that. Penn State was tied with Indiana at halftime last week. What are we doing here?
Okay, but they ended up they still got the W. All I'm saying is when the worst team in the ACC by a mile beats a top 10 team in the country, that's ugly. I don't care how you slice it.
And I'm not against calling that ugly. I'm against calling the conference bad because of that. I'm very much so. And I will stand 20 toes down on that. Somebody give me an extra 10 so I can stand some more on business.
But at the time, FSU and North Carolina were supposed to be putting the Commerce on their back, and they definitely it faltered. That's why I'm saying FSU is just right now the only thing that we have to look forward to. And Louisville's right there in the sauce. They're in the sauce. And so maybe we can just round the house kick this to charge up FSU and then get Louisville in New Year's 6. That's all I'm saying. You ain't got to yell at me. I ain't the one who said it. Stand 10 toes. The fans say you cooking, so I'm gonna let you roast. But can you get to a new comment? Because that's what we're supposed to be doing.
Let's do it. And I got to start our comments with one of my favorite commenters, as always, Miss Carla Jenkins. And she says, I am in Big Ten country, and it matters, talking about the sign stealing scandal. I think that the selection committee won't put Michigan in there either. I also want to take a different approach since Kenton mentions brands. Michigan is 0-2, and Oklahoma is 0-4 in the playoffs. With this being the final year of the 14 playoff, I do not see the committee picking them so that they can go 0-3 and 0-5 respectively. Finally,
but it's about the money.
Finally, I can see Penn State getting in as the 4th seed if they beat Michigan because they only lost to Ohio State. Candace, I want your thoughts on that one. Tell me, what are you thinking?
I think it's always about the money. I think it's about the brand power. I think it's about the fandom and what they're going to T-shirt sales that they're going to get out of the opportunity. So unfortunately, how many times have we seen Notre Dame in that bad boy? They suck. So yeah, I just think it ultimately comes down to the moolah.
Absolutely. But I'm going to say this, beyond the brand and the money and all that, I'm still looking at this thing and saying, like, you still have to maintain a certain amount of, what's the word I'm looking for? A certain amount of decorum and a certain amount of, like, hey, these are real teams here. Like, these teams actually matter. Like,
who's the guy who has to recuse himself because isn't he on the Michigan team staff, something or other?
I'm sorry,
what? The guy who's on the college football committee, ain't he a part of something with Michigan? Oh, and he has to recuse himself?
Oh, I have no clue how that works.
I think there's some – I think the committee is rigged and biased, but that's just me.
Yeah, and I think the committee is foolish as well. I think we should go back to letting the computers decide, but have the computers decide and pick. By the way, I've always argued that the playoff should be 12 teams. Super excited that's coming up.
But I also think that Michigan probably shouldn't be in the college football playoffs because of the scandals. So, like, why are you rolling your eyes?
Because Michigan is dominating everybody that's in front of them.
Because they're cheating. What do you mean? Florida State should be number 3 personally. And I don't think that Michigan should be above anybody beyond 5 and 6. They should be 5 or 6. Georgia, to me, is the front runner. And I just don't appreciate having cheaters up in that thing. It's kind of like Deflategate. Like, you cheating, and they're just going to let this thing happen.
I'm sorry to tell you this, Candace. I don't want to have to touch your shoulder. So
don't touch my shoulder because I'm going to flick it right off. Don't play with me.
I'm not going to do it. But Candace, I'm sorry to tell you, cheating will always get you ahead in these situations.
So if you ain't cheating, you ain't trying?
I was just about to say there's a phrase in football, if you ain't cheating, you ain't trying.
So is everybody cheating? Everybody has Johnny go to these games using their name and email? In somewhere or another, yes. Maybe not in that way. Everybody's cheating somehow. And I'll also say this. Once it is confirmed and once they come down and hand down the penalty, good. Let it be that. If they say, hey, we got the proof is in the pudding. By the way, those idiots were sending money through Venmo, which is like, why? Because you got to put a note in there and all that. But that's neither here nor there. Once they say we have the proof, we are shutting Michigan down. We're slapping them on the wrist, playoff ban. Good. Then get them out of the CFP rankings. But while they're in it, you got to rank them appropriately because they're beating the brakes off of everybody. Because they're cheating. So you're telling me, well, you know what? Matt Norvell, I hope you get some tickets. Matt Norvell, I hope you get to some games so we can get this championship going for the ACC. Matt, if you're listening.
Their closest game this year has been by 24 points.
Matt Norvell, please get on the next thing smoking. What's the next game for Florida State? We need Matt on there.
Who is Matt Norvell? Who is that?
Exactly. All
right.
Exactly.
Anywho, see, and this is why I be having to touch people's shoulders all the time because I never know what's going on.
Matt Norvell in his sunglasses going to games, standing on the sideline, getting some plays going.
Again, once they hand down the verdict and they say, "Hey, Michigan, you've been stealing signs illegally, you've been going to games illegally. We are now taking y'all out of this thing." I'm all there for it. But now you've got to give folks they got for whooping the wheels off people. Let's go to the next comment from NKO Sir Robinson, or Nkosi Robinson, rather. I'm sorry. Here's the thing with Virginia Tech. Kudos to them for winning games they should win, but no one is talking about how the teams they beat are literally 3 of the bottom teams in the ACC. Aside from Florida State, they haven't played anyone worthy in the conference. What say you, Candace?
Well, who is worthy at this point?
Hello?
3 through 8, who is worthy? Everybody can get it. Everybody can get it.
And can I just say this? We talking about football. I'm a big Marvel fan, but we ain't talking about lifting Mjolnir. This is not about who's worthy. This is about
you always do that sci-fi Marvel.
Oh, stop it. Everybody knows you can only lift Mjolnir if you're worthy. Everybody knows that.
No, I don't even know who you're talking about.
Oh, wow. Thor's hammer, the hammer that Thor carries, you can only lift it if you're worthy. Its name is Mjolnir. Yes.
Why the name ain't just a hammer? We gotta wrap it up.
This is about football. It's not about worthy. It's about beating who's in front of you. And Virginia Tech has done that. So, Nkosi, I hope that I didn't butcher your name too bad. I hope that we're all square there.
Come on, Royal.
But we've done our thing here. And now a much simpler name, Na_K. Candace, what's the temperature amongst the administration and boosters at UNC? As an outsider, Mac was never the guy for any serious program, especially hiring some Gene Chizik as DC. Seriously, what Power 5 program with top 25 aspirations would do that? Are the boosters and admins just happy to have a guy they like that makes them feel good, or are they upset like the fans are? Get that from you, Miss Cooper.
Well, you see who they hired as the basketball coach. So I think everyone who's a booster just wants easy, nice people they can control, who's going to kiss the babies and do all the things. I truly do believe this is Max last year. I think when you look at the next coach, you need someone of the Larry Fedora types that's young, vibrant, and, hard-nosed and really excited about the program. And I think the most important hire for Carolina next will be the defensive coordinator because Gene is gone, without a doubt. So is Max. So I think the biggest hire that you will have at UNC moving forward as this 2024-2030 model with all these new additions will be the defensive coordinator.
I very strongly believe that Gene Chizik is doing a fine job.
I'm sure you do.
I think he's doing a wonderful job.
He was doing a great job till he wasn't. Let's be clear. He was doing a great job. So them boys were tackling this year until they weren't.
The Mountaineers of App State say hello. They said hello. They said hi.
Just because you play down teams doesn't mean you're a bad defense.
Did they play down to a team, or is that who they are? I don't know, babes. Right. I don't know.
All right, wrap this up before you get punched.
I don't know. Anyway, that is the last comment. So, Candace, I'm gonna leave it to you to do your thing and shut this thing on down.
Because it was about to get real. I wasn't gonna use my G word, but it was about to get ugly.
You done already flipped me. I'm finna put in the call to Mr. Locke and tell him that my co-host being very ornery to me. Very ornery to me.
I'm gonna keep the comment that I was gonna say right to myself.
You treat me how Milk and Honey treated Keith Lee and his family. Lord have mercy. Lord have mercy.
And on that note, friends, it's been a pleasure. We love going live with you. We always appreciate when you comment on our shows and leave positive notes. Week 10 is on the way. If you have not picked your team to win, you're doing yourself a disservice. Go to YouTube right now, get into that community guidelines section, and make sure you lock in your votes, because we will be going over Week 10 matchups and making sure that you are ready to go for what will be a very exciting week of ACC football. We'll talk a little bit about basketball on Friday as well. For Candace Cooper and Kenton Gibbs, until next time.